Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to make a simple window card. This is a style of card that's not much different from your typical card, but it does have a small difference. Kind of gives your card a different element. So when you open this card, we have a window in the front, and then we make use of almost a card within a card to create the inside. So you do not need a lot of supplies for this style of card, and we are going to be using our die cut and emboss machine to create this card. And if you're thinking, oh well, I don't have a die cut machine, I'm not going to watch, don't tune out just yet. I'm going to talk a little bit later about how you can use a punch instead to create the same effect on your card. So to start with, you will need a card base. This is half a sheet of cardstock, so it's 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it on the long side at 4 1/4. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that in half. And then to create the inside of the card, I need a piece of basic white. This is just slightly smaller than the outer card base. This is 8 1/4 by 5 1/4, and I scored it on the long side at 4 1/8. And so I'm just going to fold this as well. And then this basic white piece I'm going to put to the side, and I'm going to show you how to create the window for the front of the card. So what I'm going to do is take one of our stitched rectangle dies, and I'm going to place it on the front of the card and then run it through my die cut and emboss machine. So I'm going to bring that over here to the tabletop in just a minute, and I apologize in advance in case I create a little earthquake. This is our cut and emboss machine. This is the big boss, as I like to call it. It is the full-size machine. We also have a mini or baby boss. And for storage, the platforms fold up, and then when you're ready to use it, you just have to put them down. And what I love about this machine is that the platforms come with directions written right on them. So you're not scrambling for a piece of paper or an index card where you've written the directions on. Everything is written right here on the platform and will not wear off. So because I'm using a thin die, I'm going to start with these directions at the top. It also has directions for embossing folders. So I've got platform number 1. Next, I need my thin platform. It says use with thin die, so this is number 2. And then I need 2 of platform number 3. The first one is my cutting plate, and that's going to go here on the bottom. And then next, I'm ready for my cardstock, and then my rectangle. So the only tricky part with doing this size cardstock is with a die with a straight edge like the rectangle, it's going to give me a little trouble going through the machine. If I was using a smaller piece of paper, I would offset it more so it wasn't going through on the straight edge, but it's a little difficult with a full-size piece of cardstock. But I'm gonna do my best. So if the machine creaks and crackles, that's normal. And I am using fairly new cutting plates as well. So once I've got my die straight and ready to go, then I'm going to take my second number 3 platform. And what I like to do when I use these clear ones is have one that I always cut on and one that always goes on the top. And that way I just have a smoother surface and I'm not getting any cut lines on my cardstock or whatever I'm trying to work on. So I just have to put that down. Make sure everything is straight, and I think I'm just going to adjust this just a minute. There, that looks a little better. And then this just gets rolled through the machine. As I said, it's a little more difficult because I'm rolling that rectangle edge straight through. Normally it doesn't look like this on camera. There we go. And then I just have to take my platforms away. So you can see how I've cut the window out of my card. This piece I'm going to save for another project, and then I can move my rectangle die aside. And there I have created the window for the front of my card. So when you are stamping on the inside of the card, you have a couple of options. If you're really brave, you could just simply stamp here and then put it together. You could take a single panel of white and glue it to the back of the card and just stamp there, perhaps with a smaller window, and then stamp or write around it on the inside. If you have a stamparatus, you could use that as well. I'm going to more or less wing it with my stamping. So what I'm going to do is line up my insert on the inside of the card. It is a very close fit. So I line up the fold just to the right side of the score line, so the card will still close, and I've got it centered top to bottom. And then I'm going to just hold it shut, and let's see, I have a bone folder here so I can kind of hold that top corner down, make it a little easier on me. So I'm using the Beauty of Friendship stamp set tonight. That's why I'm using the Stampin' Pierce mat, because it is photopolymer. So I need a little extra cushion underneath. And let's see here. I just need to tap gently and press 1, 2, 3, lift off, and there is my image. Now I could at this point, if I wanted to, remove the insert and continue to stamp now that I've got the main image there, but I'm actually going to just keep going. So I have the top of the tree to put on next, and I'm using Old Olive just like my card base, and then some Pear Pizzazz for a slightly lighter color. So first up is Pear Pizzazz. One of the things I love the most about this stamp set, besides the fact that it's clear and I can see through it so I can line it up perfectly, is just the differentiation in the color. That's one color ink, but it looks like two. So it's a beautiful effect, and I really could leave it just like so. But I'm going to add a little more detail to my tree, like that. Now, I am going to go ahead and take my insert out. I'm going to add some little speckles. One of my favorite stamps in any set is a speckle or a sploosh, just a little accent stamp. So I'm going to go back to my Pear Pizzazz ink. It's just a little bit lighter. And I don't like all the white space around this tree. If you like the white space, go ahead, leave it. But for me, I like a little less white space. So I'm just going to add a few of these little speckles to kind of just give the card a little something. All of this won't be seen because some of it will be behind the window, but it gives it just a little accent. And then I'm going to come over as well with my frame and add some speckles here as well. And this just, I thought, livened it up. The card seemed a little plain to me without it. So you obviously don't have to do this if you don't have a speckle. I probably could have run it through with an embossing folder if I wanted, but decided not to venture into that. So there's my little speckle. Now before I glue anything together, I am going to go ahead and put the sentiment on the inside of my card. This is a sympathy card, and I'm using the Inspired Thoughts stamp for my sentiment for the inside. And then I always like a little accent, even on a sympathy card, so I'm just going to bring that speckle back and put a couple of corner accents in there. Now, you could simply glue the insert into your card. You could attach it with a ribbon or a piece of twine, or you can do both, which is what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold my insert shut, and I'm going to line it up just to the left side, since I've got it facing this way, of that score line, so I know it will close. And I'm just going to take my Stampin' Seal Plus and put a little around the edges, making sure I'm not overlapping any of the edges. I don't want it to stick somewhere I don't really want it to. And then I'm just going to fold that shut. So I could just leave the card like so, so it has the extra window effect. But I decided I wanted to tie some twine around it. So I have some of our linen thread. And you could either put it to the inside of the card, or you could even, if you prefer, put it beneath the window panel piece. So it's up to you. If you use ribbon, it will keep these two panels more together. The twine doesn't have so much width to it. So I have a little more flexibility. I'm going to cut a nice long piece of twine here for my bow. I could just tie a knot, but I like the bow effect a little bit better. So first of all, since I'm not the world's best tyer of bows, as you can clearly see, I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot, and then I'll go back and tie my bow. And then, there we go. Can trim my edges now. Get rid of that extra piece of ribbon. Now, almost finished. So the inside's done. The front just needs a little something else. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of crumb cake cardstock, and there's a matching sentiment with what I used on the inside from this Inspired Thoughts set. And I'm going to stamp that on the crumb cake. And then I'm going to use my tailored tag punch to cut that out. This is one of my must-haves for the crafting area. I really like to use this one. It's a very handy shape to have. And so I'm just going to cut that out. And I want to attach that on the corner of my card. Just gives it a little something else. So what I have to be careful of is placement with my dimensionals. I could glue it on flat if I wanted, but I'm going to take some mini dimensionals and just be careful where I put them. So one there on the right side, and then because I have this little window here, I'm going to kind of stick close to the bottom. I could always go back and sneak another dimensional in if I want, but this way I'll make sure I'm not gluing my window shut to the front of the card. Like so. And I can check and see that my dimensionals aren't causing a problem, and I could kind of peek back there if I wanted to add one more. And I like this, but it still didn't quite speak to me as being finished. So one last thing I'm going to add are a little bit of leaves. We have our leaf punch. This is another favorite of mine. Maybe not on my must-have list, but it does come in handy for lots of different things. So I'm going to cut one from Old Olive cardstock and then one leaf from Pear Pizzazz. And I'm going to attach these two together with glue dots. So let's see, I'll put the Old Olive on top. So I'm simply going to put a glue dot. I like to work right off my roll of glue dots. I'm going to put one right at the center where these leaves all connect. And then I'm going to lay it on top of my Pear Pizzazz leaves, slightly offset. And then I'm going to put a couple of glue dots behind on the leaves before I stick it to the card itself. Whoop. And then this way, I can tuck it right here on the edge. Just like that. I really kind of felt like this was the finishing touch for this card. And then the card is ready to go. So very simple. And as I was saying earlier, you can use any amount of shapes. You could use a circle, a square, other different shapes. I'll show you some in the samples. But if you don't have a die cut machine, all you need is a large punch. Obviously something teeny tiny wouldn't work, but if you had, say, a 2-inch circle, you could definitely center that in the middle of your card front and then work with a stamp that fit within that circle. So you're not tied down to needing a die cut and embossed machine. If you don't have that at the moment, put it on your wish list. Okay, so a couple more samples I wanted to show you. I made some birthday cards. This one I did use ribbon, and as I mentioned, it does kind of limit your window from opening. You can still see it, but it just does keep that a little more secure. Now for this one, I cut my square at an angle, and then I cut another square, same size, from a piece of basic white, and I basically inlaid it. I put this down and then glued it in after I stamped the image on, and that's what I did to create that window effect. And then since I went with the polished pink on the inside to go with the fresh freesia, I added another panel of basic white for my sentiment on the inside. Now you do have another option when you create this card. If you like, the basics are the same until you get to the inside step. So here again, I used my square, set as a square this time, again stamped on the additional square, but when I went to glue my insert in, I did it the opposite way. So this fold on the right or on the left here, and then the inside fold on the right. So this way the card just has an additional panel. Makes it a little fun. And then finally one more card and a quick sneak peek at a brand new stamp set that will be coming out in our January to June catalog. And as a demonstrator, I get a sneak peek and I get to share with you. And this one, I just wanted to show you how I made the frame on the card. Again, I glued the insert backwards, so to speak, for this. But if you like this effect and you want to create that on your own card, it is very simple. All you need is 2 different size dies. This is actually from the Hippo and Friends die set that we have. It has a die to cut out the little hippo and sheep and butterflies and unicorns that we have with the set, but it has these beautiful shapes as well. So I like to use them whenever I can. The stitch detail is just beautiful. So what I did first was I took the smaller of the dies and I went ahead and I cut the window out of my card front. Then I took, and that was Rich Razzleberry. Then I took a piece of Blackberry Bliss and I cut out the larger shape. And then once I die cut the larger shape, I came back and die cut the smaller shape out of that. And then I just glued the 2 together, and that's what created the frame. So you have a lot of different options for this card, whether it's the way you put the inside together or how you decorate the front. And here's just another look at the card with a knot tied instead of a bow. So thank you so much for joining me for my simple window card tutorial today. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to take a look at my videos. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you would subscribe to this YouTube channel, or if you're a fan of Facebook, you can hop over there and look me up as The Faithful Stamper. I do live videos there twice a week and post other specials and different things that are going on with Stampin' Up! Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.